Hello everybody! This morning I did a community post where I said that if my channel got 100,000 subscribers, I would attempt to launch something into space. Like something amusing and decided by a whatever. And it made me realize that I haven't actually talked about my program very much on this channel. I mean, I've mentioned projects here and there, but not like all of them. So I decided I'll do a video where I just run through my random design crap folder and go from there. But to start out with, I do have a quote-unquote space program. It's more of a hobby thing, honestly. I've been doing it for a while. It has a website, though, and we're going to get to that in a second. But before I start, I would like to point out, you're probably going to find spelling errors. Like most of my diagrams and everything else I do it for me, just to kind of organize my thoughts, and I am horrifically dyslexic. Now, as an adult, it's more just funny. When I was a kid, it was absolute hell. But yeah, so you will probably see spelling errors, because I can't see a lot of typos, especially transposition typos, where like letters, numbers are weird places. So if you see spelling errors, that's why. I'm horrifically dyslexic. So, but yeah, boom. I do in fact have a website for the program. It's incredibly amateurish, and it's really garbage, and no one ever goes to it, but it is here. And yeah, and it's kind of like my landing page. Yeah, Project Zenith. This is one I've been working on for about, what, 10 years now? Maybe 8 or 7 years. I want to launch basically a single person capsule suborbital with yours truly. It has no set time frame. It's more just like if I ever get to that eventually down the road in my life. But that's there. Project Raven, that's the more applicable one. I want to do sounding rockets, and I'm working on small scale mock-ups. Like here's one right here of the first one I did, that it kind of explores a free spin rotor descent system that I've been working on. This one, I have it. It's next to me. It sucks. It's absolutely terrible. This one was originally made to fly, but then I decided to make it just a test article where I would just like abuse the crap out of it and see how it works aerodynamically. And I ended up not liking the design because it's kind of a weird mix of the DCX and Roton. Only difference being that these blades are not they're not powered, they're free spin. So, but then I decided to ditch that for a new design, which I'm currently working on, which has more of an ICBM look to it, and the rotors actually deploy in a different fashion. So, this one actually will fly. It's going to use the model motor, like an Esta's hobby motor, probably an F or a G motor. I'm not quite sure, but we'll see. I need to actually finish that one up. I'm still kind of trying to figure out the rotor system, if I want to like actually buy like helicopter rotors, like model helicopter rotors, or just say screw it and go with a Balut and just be very, very basic about it. But I would really like to try out the rotors. It will not have legs. This was an early design. It will not have legs. And these are also small scale. These are not the full scale things. These are just the test articles I'm using to test designs. The actual full scale rockets in this program will be like anywhere between 4 to 10 feet tall. We'll get to that eventually. They're going to use a peroxide monopropellant engine. I will explain that more later. The balloon project, yeah, Rayon 1 currently is somewhere lost in Alberta. No idea where it is. That's what it looked like. There's me launching the balloon. This was actually originally supposed to fly into a thunderstorm, and it was going to gather radiation data in this radiation logger from lightning strikes. But then I decided, like, it was like end of the season. It was like it was September of 2019, and I was like, you know what? I'll do a flight test where I just launch it in fair weather and gather radiation data on the way up and the way down. It'll be kind of a fun little diversion. So we did that, and the second I let it go, the tracker stopped working, and so we just watched it disappear off into the stratosphere. And it's like, well, it's never coming back. So it's somewhere lost. I have no idea where it is. I wish it luck. That was about $400 worth of equipment just vanishing. I've replaced it all. I have all these parts again, but holy crap, that sucked. Rayon 2 is gonna be the next one in that series. I'm actually gonna fly it into a thunderstorm. Its motto is Ergo Expiro Liber. It's something like through failure. I forget what it was, but it was basically some motto pertaining to this absolute failure. And Halo is the one I'm currently building, which I have all the pieces for. It's just gonna get narrow. It's basically gonna test high altitude, like an A-frame design, and it'll take pictures. I have stuff on that later. Probably fast track. This is more just a hypothetical thing where I muse about the ideas for interstellar travel. This isn't actually a feasible thing. This is just like contemplative thought, I should say. But yeah, so program. I work on shit. I'm all alone. This is all me. I occasionally get volunteers to help, but this is all pretty much just my mind slowly going mad. And this is my folder full of just garbage designs and things that I've thrown in here over the last like 10 years. I constantly make more, but yeah. Starting out with these ones, which this is a Venus lander concept I had. These are actually renderings of this one, where it's basically kind of like a Venera 9 kind of situation, where it's a ball, but it has a balloon on board. So basically it enters, then the top pops off, balloon's deployed, and the rest of it lands. And when it lands, instruments pop out. One of them looks kind of sus. I never noticed that. God, I hate that so much. But it would be a very small vehicle. So that's what that is. It's just a Venus lander. This was an early concept. Oh yeah, this was an early idea for telescopic rotor blades for the Raven rocket, and this was like kind of the basic idea. It's going to be a single tank pressure-fed monopropellant engine, where basically it just uses hydrogen peroxide and it decomposes it into steam to generate thrust. This technology is used everywhere. Rocket belts use them. Some rockets use them for pressurization and reaction control. Like, it's a very, very common and very basic technology. It's also not very powerful, but the reason why I'm going with it is because you can get a fair bit of power out of it, but it's in kind of a regulatory gray area. Because I actually contacted Transport Canada, which is our version of the FAA, and the Canadian Rocketry Association, and the peroxide engine they don't really know where it sits, because it's basically a steam rocket, so it doesn't fall into the same areas as liquid or solid fuel rockets, but it's still a fairly powerful rocket, so I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. What's this? Oh right, this was a run-of-river power generation idea I was thinking of. The idea being, instead of building dams to make electric, like hydropower, you would make a bunch of these really cheap units, and you'd either sink them directly into the river, or you'd make a little outflow channel full of them, and they would just generate power as water just flows through them. But they wouldn't be intrusive. Like, they wouldn't harm wildlife, they wouldn't disrupt aquatic wildlife, and they wouldn't require flooding entire areas. So it's just a run-of-river electrical idea that I never really did anything with. I might work on that later. I don't know. We'll see. This is the horn antenna for my telescope that I'm no longer using. Yeah, I'm building a radio telescope, and originally I was going to make a very large horn antenna, looking like this actually. I was going to make an array of 3, and yeah, I was going to make eventually an even larger array of them, but I decided that I don't want to go with, yeah, there we go, with the horn antenna. I'm going to do parabolic antennas instead, because it's just easier. So, yeah. This blimp, very descriptive. I think this was an airship, like a semi-rigid airship I was thinking of for, like, speed. Isn't much to say about that. What is... Oh, that's a nuclear saltwater adapter section for something else. For this, actually. That's stupid. We don't have to talk about that. That wouldn't actually work. That's just information about the antennas. This is a discus ship, which was kind of my idea for an interstellar or interplanetary spaceship, where you basically make a giant saucer and you shoot people out into this saucer, into space, and it would spin across like along its axis to generate gravity inside. I have more about this elsewhere. Where is it? Oh, there's like the interior of it. Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah, so it's mostly just fuel with a bit of internal thing, and it would just basically do stuff. I don't know, it was just an idea. I like flying saucers, so I went with that idea. Oh, this is the engines. Yeah, this is my first idea for the hydrogen peroxide engine, where it'll be a an injector plate, and I think this is supposed to be, yeah, this is silver mesh. But I'm probably going to do an aggregate bed instead of silver mesh for the actual catalyst section and steams. And that was an idea for a aerospike, which I'm not going to do because aerospikes suck. And, well, they don't suck, I just don't want to do them. This is, oh right, this is the induction thermal rocket that I've been working on for a while. And I have the pieces for it to make a version of, but I haven't gotten around to it. Basically, the idea is it's similar to a nuclear thermal rocket, but instead of nuclear core, you have graphite rods and an induction coil around the outside. And you basically just use the induction coil to heat up the rods, and then you pass working fluid through it, and boom, you get a rocket. I think I have, yeah, this right here, where it's kind of like the graphite rods, and then just around its... I've been working on it for a while. I have actual parts to build a small version of it, but I've just not gotten around to it yet, because it isn't terribly important. I'm more working on the naphthalene thruster I talked about in another video, where you basically heat up naphthalene and use that as thrust. But that's interesting. Also, sorry if I like click my tongue a lot. That's a tick. Alright, this was more flying saucer fun, where I decided to make a large lenticular spacecraft shuttle that used flyback boosters to fly into space. Because, why not? And then there's the Raven test article. This, oh right, this was an old idea I had. This is a Magnetoplasma thruster. It's essentially a Vasimir, but it uses a cyclotron to make it faster. Like basically xenon. Probably use like krypton or an iodine at this point. But anyways, it would inject the fuel and it would be ionized and then injected into the cyclotron, where it would accelerate and then be ionized again, or I should say heated up more, and then squeeze out a magnetic nozzle. Kind of like this, where it would basically whatever. And the idea was basically to make a magnetoplasma thruster like Vasimir, but with faster thrust, like faster reaction mass velocity. It's probably a stupid idea, because the amount of energy you would need to run the whole thing, plus the mass penalties, would probably outweigh any positives. So it never went anywhere. Yeah, this is the Halo balloon I mentioned on the site. It has the 4 pieces. Basically, it's a pyramid with like, this is going to be like a metal or a mylar mesh that I use sometimes. It'll be very lightweight. I actually have these parts printed out and ready to go, and I have the dowels for the actual frame. I just haven't put it together. And then that's antenna. Oh, yeah, this was a dumb idea I had for a fusion reactor, where instead of trying to like maintain plasma or get heat energy out of it, it would be purely mechanical. The idea being, you just make basically a giant, like this would be huge, mind you, a very, very, very large reaction chamber, and you'd inject like DT pellets, deuterium tritium pellets, and use lasers to initiate a fusion detonation, and the force of the explosion would drive a piston. So it would basically be an internal combustion engine the size of a building that uses fusion to power it, like fusion explosions to power itself. It was dumb, but it was more of a joke, if I remember. This was actually a little while ago. I think it was last year, or in 2019. It was, I don't know, I'm pretty sure it was a joke, but I can't guarantee. This, oh right, this was an idea I had to try to get nuclear saltwater rockets to become practical, because the neutron flux from them is terrible. So I had an idea that you store the actual like uranium bromide into, like, you know, separate to the water, and you use the water tank as a shield between the exterior of the engine and the uranium bromide, or uranium tetrabromide? Yeah, uranium tetrabromide fuel. And this would all be stored in boron, yeah, there we go, boron carbide tubes with slats in it, like little baffles, that were also made of boron carbide. So it would keep the neutron levels low, basically moderate it, and then it would pulse. Like, it wouldn't be a continuous thing, it would be a pulse thing, where it would detonate outside the spacecraft and push it. I have no other explanations for that, or I haven't really worked on it. It's just a dumb idea, I guess. Most of my ideas are dumb. I think very poorly of my own ideas, but I still work on them. This was for a paper I did on an interstellar probe. Boy, this sucks. Graphene radiators, an antimatter beam core engine with the fuel being proton-antiproton clouds. Oh, yeah, I remember that. And then a composite impact shield. This whole thing was supposed to weigh like less than a pound. And it would be, most of its weight would be fuel. But, yeah, no, that probably wouldn't work, so. Moving along. That's the lander. That's a leg configuration that I never used. Oh, right, this. This is a liquid gallium cathode fuser. Okay, a Farnsworth fuser is a type of fusion reactor that anyone can build. They're very simple. And they usually use two grids, an anode and a cathode, and you basically put deuterium in it and you charge it, and the ions will fuse in the center because they impact. It is a fusion reactor, and people can, like high school students build these, but they suck because you get less energy out than you put in. Like, they're fundamentally flawed, but they make neutrons, so that's something. And this idea was, I was tackling the cathode erosion concept, because one of the problems with them is you get ion erosion of the cathode, which is usually the inner ring. So I thought, what if you made a fuser that used a liquid gallium cathode? So in this case, it's a cycling ring of liquid gallium that flows in a loop in the middle, so that you get fusion in the middle, but you have no erosion of the cathode because the cathode's a liquid metal. And I went with gallium because it has a really wide energy, or heat, I should say, heat, what do you call it? Range, there we go. I think it's a bit more insulating and not so conductive, so it might not work, but either way, liquid metal cathode fuser. That's more antenna. Actually, I have a 3D model of it up here too that I made, and yeah, it wouldn't actually do anything useful. It would fuse deuterium here, produce neutrons. The neutrons would strike this disc, or this little cylinder around the center, and that contains lithium-6 foil, and that would breed tritium gas, which would then slowly leak into the reactor and take part in the reactor and make it more energetic. So basically it would be a self-feeding reactor, but it wouldn't accomplish anything useful at all. You couldn't get power out of it. It would just produce neutrons and look pretty. That's basically it. But the cathode would not erode, so there's at least that. I don't know. I make dumb ideas for the sake of it. This was a 2-stage satellite launcher. Oh yeah, lenticular upper stage and a flyback booster using jet engines and a rocket RP-1 LOX engine. Basically, yeah, it would fly up using the jet engines, and then the main engine would fire and boost it up, and then it would separate. The top part would keep going, and the booster would then fly back and land like an airplane wherever you want it to land. Would it work? I don't know, maybe. I doubt it will. It's not an active... Again, most of these aren't things that I'm actually working on. They're just concepts I just throw out onto paper because I have nothing better to do with my life. What the hell? Oh, right. This was an idea I had for a... like a solar system economy kind of thing. Where you'd have... Yeah, okay. So you'd have different routes going to different things. I hear you have collecting helium-3 from the moon, collecting antimatter and helium-3 from the Jupiter system, the Uranus system, the Jovian system, really? I wouldn't want to do that. Screw that. I don't seem to have anything for Venus or Mercury or Neptune. How sad. But yeah, that, I don't know. I might remake that and make it look prettier. It would actually make a good poster if I could, like, make sure it didn't have spelling errors. But I made that a long time ago. What is this? Oh, right. This was a plaque idea I had to put in the upper stage of rockets, like the Centaur upper stage of some rockets. That, like, you know, things that would be basically things that would be left in solar orbit for millions of years, and it would basically just be a plaque that shows the Earth's continents as they currently are, an arrow pointing to Earth, so you know it came from Earth, and then basically you'd have the inner 3 planets in the position that they were at launch, so that humans in the future who find it would know roughly the date of when this was launched, and then a human handprint. Because I like the human handprint. It's a very universal symbol. Like, even going back thousands of years, you'd find these, like, human stencil handprints on caves all over the world. In cultures that did not interact, they would do the same thing, hand stencils. So it's a very universal human symbol in my mind, so I figured that would be a nice one to have for messages for future humans, where it's like, humans. Oh yeah, uranium-238. That would also be used for dating. Oh right, this was a Mars concept I made. I actually made this one when my fish was deathly ill, and I was very, very sad. So I just started making things for the sake of mind distractions. Basically, it would be a Sea Dragon-esque rocket I call Charybdis, and you'd launch 3 of them to assemble this Mars spacecraft that would use tethered gravity all the way back, and then a rotor descent for the stages. And there's the Mars descent, Mars ascent. I don't know. It's pretty basic. This is a... Oh yeah, this was a moon rover idea I quickly threw together because I was bored. Where I would use screws, and I thought it was cute. So it's like, I'm going to keep this because you never know. But it would basically just like screw itself to the regolith. Oh my. This was for Objective Europa. I did a paper for them a long time ago. I'm pretty sure they're inactive now, but it was like, you know, oh, a crewed mission to Europa, and I was working on spacecraft architecture and design, so I came up with all of this. This was all hand-drawn, too, because of course it is. Xenon? That's a lot of xenon. Ooh, I wouldn't want to do that. I would totally go with the nuclear thermal alternative. Yeah. Oh yeah, this was a subsurface moon explorer, like for Europa and Enceladus. It basically used a nuclear tip to melt through the ice passively, and once it got there, it would just free sink. It wouldn't do anything but sink. It would deploy some little probes that would float and roll along the top of the ice, but the actual vehicle down here would just sink forever until it hit the bottom, which is about 100 kilometers, so it probably wouldn't survive all the way to the bottom, but it would be made to be completely incompressible, so like it would be full of mineral oil, and the camera, which I mentioned here, is made of basically just it'd be a photoreceptor and lenses. There would be no places for airspace, like no airspaces at all anywhere in this, so the camera would suck. It would be very, very basic, and it wouldn't see anything anyways, but yeah, and it'd have a pressure compensator, so the internal pressure is the same as the external pressure. So basically the idea is it would just sink until it couldn't sink anymore. And it would have tons and tons of very thin communication cabling on spools. And it would probably spool out, I guess it could probably do 10 kilometers, and then after that it would disconnect and do wireless until it stopped being able to communicate. But it's not very practical, so... It was just an idea I had. That's the telescope again. That is the first concept for the Sony rocket, like the 3 design that I did. There's that one again. That's on the website. More leg ideas. That's this free spin rotor recovery. Those are the actual dimensions for the horn. Is that? Oh, this was a sample collection idea I had to be deployed on the space station, where it would basically just be glass plates that were coated in something like a very thin aerogel, and it would just sit on the outside, and it would just sit there and collect stuff, and then it would snap closed and come back to Earth, and you would have samples of crap. The idea, this actually was the beginnings of my ideas about looking for life in the upper atmosphere and in the space atmosphere transition zone, like Earth life, not aliens, but trying to see how far up microbiota can actually spread. So that's what that is. Alright, this was a lens idea I had for the Oculus Rift, because I was really annoyed with it because I have to wear glasses, and I hated having to take them off or just have them on my glasses, and I didn't want to get prescription inserts. So I thought, what if you could get an Oculus lens that you had this little like tightening system on it, and you'd either make it a compressible plastic material or like Friesen lenses, Fresnel, whatever. Anyways, oh yeah, right there we go. Fresnel lenses, and basically as you tighten and loosen it, it would make them bow or like flatten. So you could basically control the focal point, or one that literally moves the lenses forward and closer. So the idea is basically you have a lens that you could tailor screw to adjust to your eye needs. Like it would change the focal point of the lenses so that you could wear your Oculus Rift without needing to wear glasses, and it would be a universal thing. Like, you know, you wouldn't have to spend a whole bunch of money on custom lenses where you can just buy this and then whatever. Yeah, and I had this idea, like this, like on the side, it would be like this little chain that you kind of like move side to side that would screw and unscrew the lenses. So you could change the focus. I actually sent that to Oculus. They never got back to me, but screw them. I thought it was a good idea. Oh yeah, this is terror in a bottle. This is something that I keep pushing. It won't get anywhere. The idea is you get a CubeSat and a bunch of discs, and you put in the discs things that represent Earth. So in this idea I have desert sand, ocean water, city air, mountain granite, farmland topsoil, lake water, and fossilized organic material, so coal. And you'd stuff it into this spacecraft and launch it on a escape velocity trajectory out of the solar system. On its way out, it would deploy a solar sail, which would just be there to gain a little bit of extra speed, and it would just basically go and float through the galaxy for millions of years, probably never to be found. And yeah, it would just be like a sample of what Earth was when this was launched, and it would have uranium in it too. So if it was found in the future, it could be its age could be determined. And this was an early design for it using a CubeSat instead of a TubeSat. And yeah, I would actually like this idea to happen because it would require it'd be very simple. It's all very passive, but I doubt that's ever going to happen because, well, I can't afford it. But I like the idea. And there's that. This was an idea for a Venus thingy where you have a balloon and a habitat suspended about 50 kilometers, yeah, above the surface. And then you'd use like a bathysphere type thing to go down to the surface and then come back up. So you could have some kind of human presence on the surface. Not a lot of one, but a bit of one. Would it work? It's a lot of cable. 50 kilometers of cable, I wouldn't trust it. And then this was also a Venus concept. Oh yeah, this was like a large one. So you'd have a lander, balloon, and an orbiter. The orbiter is Hesperus, the lander's Virgil, and the balloon is Nephili. Nephili, there we go. Yeah, I remember that. Virgil and Nephili were references to the Divine Comedy, and Hesperus was the name of Venus. Because Hesperus and Phosphorus, the morning and evening stars, they were, back in the day, they thought they were, like the Greeks thought they were different stars, but they were both just Venus. And I forget who it was who said the famous line, Hesperus is phosphorus. But either way, that's the naming for. And that's it, yeah. So there's a lot of crap that I work on for the sake of working on stuff. So, so yeah, if I get to 100,000 subscribers, I'll actually try to launch something into space. I do have a project in the works right now that might actually accomplish that, but we will see. So, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll get back to actual videos here now. So, yeah, if you want to help out, you can join the Patreon account, or you can buy stuff. I'll have links below. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and space